All right, well, basically, we started here with a plan, with rough drawings and some info. We wanted to make a giant impression on 2022 OG. We wanted to build a giant gambler skull that rotated, that had smoke coming out of it. So, in high contrast to almost everything else I do, everything went according to plan. We got a drawing drawn up, and then we started going to work on proof of concept to see if we could even spin this thing around. Russ started acquiring parts to get the mechanics working and also the structure built that would hold this mammoth skull. We got it up on the pole and got it spinning around to our satisfaction, where we knew a few adjustments we could make it spin indefinitely. I went to work on building the peripheral of the skull. I started with 2 fins and then started cutting ribs, kind of like an aircraft fuselage, but with much less precision. I quickly realized that adhesive and spray foam wasn't going to do the trick, so I developed a method using shish kebab sticks. I would chuck them up in a drill, burn them into all the connectors, and use friction to open the holes up, pull them back out, dope them up with Gorilla Glue, and then put them back in. That worked great. It created a really wonderful tie rod system. Slowly just began building up, like basically carving in reverse. Sculpting, I guess is a word for it. I was using all the scrap and just trying to like make a mosaic to fill in later with spray foam, and then wherever I would shear off the exterior, I would try to put the garbage back in and then foam it back in. So I'd try to reduce how much garbage I was actually generating with this build. All the cracks I was just filled with various things. The relative humidity during this build was just insane. I think it even snowed once while I was building it, and it caused everything to take 3 to 4 times as long as it normally would to cure. So I just was building up with various shapes, sanding, and using a vacuum to capture all the dust. Putting layers of plaster of Paris and sanding that back down. We just kind of approached it one day at a time. Some days I had a huge gain, some days not so much. There's no like YouTube video I could watch of how to make this thing or something really close to it. There's plenty of giant sculpture videos, but not any that actually have a mechanical feature to them. I used a piece of this 55-gallon drum to measure and cut out all the teeth that I would be installing. I put them up for a mock fit and then traced them with a Sharpie, went back with a fine tool, like a oscillating multi-tool, and cut out sockets for the teeth. Russ the whole time was working in tandem with me on getting the structure built and making sure it was structurally sound. His job was to make sure everything operated and didn't kill anyone, which he was successful at. My job was all the art stuff. Together, we made a pretty impressive centerpiece for our stage. Once the teeth were in place, I caulked around them with Gorilla Glue and a wet glove, basically, and it made a real effective seal and just locked those suckers into place. We began working on the tower and got ready for our first dry fit, get it tested. There's a series of wheels on this tower that are spring-loaded to kind of keep the barrel centered on the pole. Did a really good job at doing that, kind of keeping it in place. This hinge on the bottom, in conjunction with the boat winch there, made lifting it a real breeze. We fitted it up with lights and that were Bluetooth controlled, so we could change the aesthetic just from a phone, and then piped in a little bulkhead at the bottom for like a washer and dryer to get the smoke into the cavity of the skull, to force it then out of the eyes and the back of the head and the bottom. Coming right along with the stand, Russ put a lot of hours into this, and it showed. It works really good. It was adjustable. Inside the shop, we could only raise it to about 15 feet, and we're closer to 18 or 19 at the site. Anyway, there was a lot of trial and error, mostly air, into getting the outside texture right. I was going to paint this thing, but I felt like mostly white would be the optimal light reflective color, and I was right. It worked really good. I just did some overtones with some dark paint. This was a little light test just to see if we were headed in the right direction. It was quickly apparent that we were headed in the right direction. I was pretty blown away with this, and could visualize it, in high contrast against the backdrop of the sky. With that, we were ready to give it a test spin. Yeah, check that out. That was pretty cool, spinning around. Okay, that's it in regular shop light, big crazy LED light. We invited James over as a precautionary measure, just an extra set of hands on there, and also we needed my weight to keep it from flipping up and tacoing on itself. Steady with the worm drive boat winch from Harbor Freight. It's got a pretty high weight ratio or weight rating. Slowly and steady goes into place. Once it's up in place, there's a few pass-through bolts that go into the hinge itself, and then the 45-degree angle braces come into place, 4 of them. And we use that in conjunction with guy wires at the site to make sure it could hold up to 40, 60 mile an hour gusts of wind, which it did. The skull just looked right into the wind and like a weather vane, and took everything it was given. Anyway, this is our first smoke test, where we actually pressurized the skull with the smoke machine. We had a smoke machine in a box at the bottom, and it was being moved with an air mover through an 8-inch hose attached to that washing machine bulkhead or fitting. That's kind of finishing touches, cutting off the fins underneath the jaw, and building up the Gambler and the 500 also. Painting it and attaching it on the pole above and below. With that, we're ready to rock. Overall, pretty happy about the outcome of this entire build and the aesthetic that it created on stage. It was awesome. It was by far the coolest stage I've ever built, and I'm hoping to outdo it by at least a 40% increase of badassness for next year. Badassery? I don't know what the right word is, but we got to keep getting better from here out. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.
Dream